to the second video in our series highlighting some of the great shore diving we have here close to us in the West Country. At the moment we're concentrating on shore diving, but due to the popularity of the last video, we're thinking about doing some wreck dives as well, so keep an eye open for those. Today though we're looking at another of our favourite shore dives, which is Brixham. I would point out, as I did in the last video, that there are an infinite number of divers that have dived this site a lot more than I have. So if any of you have any hints or tips to add about Brixham or anything probably more likely that I've missed, please feel free to comment in the comments below. Brixham is a fishing town situated on the South Devon coast. It is steeped in fishing and maritime history and is home to the famous Brixham Fish Market. It has its own fleet consisting of beam trawlers and other smaller boats that bring home over 40 species of fish. To commemorate those lost at sea and Brixham's long fishing heritage, the local community raised funds over 9 years to commission a fantastic statue, man and boy, that stands on the walk along the harbour from the town centre towards the breakwater. Brixham also played a very important role in the D-Day landings, with the 4th Infantry Division departing from here destined for Utah Beach in Normandy. Special ramps and piers were constructed, and some are still used today. There is a plaque commemorating Operation Overlord by the breakwater and well worth a visit. Brixham is part of Tor Bay and easy to get to. The shore dives we're concentrating on both start at Breakwater Beach. The beach is a mixture of stones, rock and shingle and is home to the fantastic Breakwater Bistro, which in my opinion produces the best pre or post dive breakfast. Both dives are simple and easy to navigate and, like Barbican, offer a huge variety of marine life to find. Whilst in Brixham, you should really try to take a visit to the Brixham Dive Shack, where you can get airfills and advice galore on diving in Brixham from the legend that is Baz. You're sure of a warm welcome and help from someone who, quite rightly, is massively proud of his town and the diving it offers. Another great resource Baz offers are his almost daily viz reports that he posts on the Brixham Dive Shack Facebook page. If you follow the page, it will allow you to assess the viz before leaving home. Okay, so Brixham and how to dive it. The first thing to remember is that it's really safe and really easy. There are a couple of things you need to think about, but we'll come on to those a little bit later on. So as you arrive at Breakwater Beach, you'll come out of the town along the road here, down a little slip road and into an extensive car park. There is more car parking around here, but we haven't actually got that on the map. So once you've parked up, kit up, there's some really nice low walls that make it really easy. Lovely place for people to go who aren't necessarily divers. It's a great seaside town. So the diving, 2 dives that we're going to look at. One is out along the breakwater wall and the other one around into Ladybird Cove. The dive along the breakwater really is as simple as it can get, because you literally come down, enter the water, drop down and just swim along, keeping the breakwater wall on your left hand shoulder. And you can go for as long as your air is going to allow you. I don't think anyone's ever got to the end of the breakwater wall, but I'm willing to be proved wrong. So obviously, go along the breakwater wall, left hand shoulder to the breakwater. At your turn point, turn around, come back, breakwater on your right hand shoulder, and it's as easy as that. You're likely to see all the usual marine animals that you will in the UK, and we'll come on to that a little bit later with the Ladybird Cove dive. But that is the breakwater dive, and if you're going down to Brixham for the first time, that's definitely the one to start with, because you can't go wrong. The second dive, which you need a little bit more nav, but really, you know, just give it a go and I'm sure you'll be fine. Down the beach, there's 2 ways of doing it. You can either swim out, surface swim until you're parallel or just level with these rocks here, then drop down and head on an easterly bearing. That'll take you past the end of the rocks here and then turn round to the south. Had to look at the compass then. Turn round to the south into Ladybird Cove. The other way of getting there is just to drop down as soon as you've got enough depth. So head northeast, and then once you're around these rocks, you then again turn south and into Ladybird Cove. Once you get round and into Ladybird Cove, The bottom is, there's all sorts of gullies and rocks coming out from the promontory here, and as you get round into there's big boulders, there's shingle, there's weed, and all kinds of habitat for things to live in. We've seen congers round there, you see just so much marine life, you won't believe it. So that is basically how to get to Ladybird Cove and how to dive it. Then just swim around it and come back the opposite direction. You'll see in the middle of the bay here, there's an area of seagrass, which is really, really interesting. Very, very likely to see pipefish there. You have got to look quite carefully. Again, me being me, not very good at spotting them, but I do have other people pointing them out for me. The only hazards to think about, if you're diving the breakwater, watch out for fishermen casting out, reeling back in again, getting you caught on their hooks and things. Also, you might get caught up on a little bit of fishing gear, so make sure you've got those knives with you. On the Ladybird Cove dive, take an SMB with you. There is boat traffic around, jet skis and the like, so make sure you've got your SMB. If you want to put it up from the start of the dive, that's up to you, but make sure you've got one with you. The other thing to be aware of with the Ladybird Cove dive is if you're diving it on a spring ebb tide, which is the outgoing tide, you want to be a little bit careful because the tide could take you out towards Berry Head. So generally, if we're diving it, if it's a spring tide and it's anywhere near the tide going out, we just don't do that dive, we'll just do the breakwater dive. But apart from that, and again, if anybody has any comments about whether this is right or not, it seems to be fine to dive at any state, but avoid that spring outgoing tide. You've obviously got the bistro here for post-dive meals, which is absolutely brilliant. There's a little balcony there so you can sit outside, ice creams, and it's generally just a really, really fun day down at Brixham. Round here, the memorial to the D-Day landings is just situated around here, and the slipway that they built is just there. And this is where, if you're getting a rib out of Brixham, we go out with Warwick at Nautilus Dive Charters. He will always be leaving from that sort of area there. So I think that's about it. Oh, I know, it's like Babbacombe, it's protected from the prevailing southwesterly winds, so you should be able to dive it in anything but northeasterly winds. We're so lucky with the marine life we have at our shore diving locations like Brixham. We've seen conger eels under the rocks in Ladybird Cove, often accompanied by large prawns that will come out of their holes to investigate. Another common sight at Brixham are mermaids' purses clinging onto the seaweed. These are a pouch that usually contain the eggs of dogfish. If you look carefully, you can sometimes see the tiny juvenile moving inside the pouch. You'll see all species of wrasse, including the very friendly cuckoo wrasse, that will often follow you during the whole dive. There are a myriad of crabs, both large and small, that you will see during your dive. These in turn become one of the food options for cuttlefish. Like Babbacombe, Brixham is a hot spot for cuttlefish, and keep your eyes peeled during the spring for cuttlefish eggs. These look like grapes attached to seaweed and are a distinctive black colour due to a tiny amount of cuttlefish ink they contain. Another highlight of Brixham are the pipefish. These come in a variety of types and colours. I'm no marine biologist and I'm not going to attempt to explain the differences, but if you're sharp-eyed and take your time, you'll spot these docile fish, especially in amongst the seagrass bed. A little further out, as the bottom turns to silty sand, you'll see any number of flatfish and also scallops. If you're hoping for a few scallops for the pot, make sure they are the right size, and you'll also need a licence to take them. These licences are available from the Devon and Severn Inshore Fisheries Conservation Authority. If during your dive you find you're struggling to maintain forward momentum, have a look behind you. One of Brixham's resident seals may well be latched onto your fins. Finally, if you fancy jumping on a boat out of Brixham, give Warwick Saunders a shout at Nautilus Diving Charters. You're sure of a great dive and a very warm welcome. We love our days out with Warwick. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you found it informative, and if you have got any kind of comment to add, please put it in the comments below. We will be doing another dive site as soon as we've had time to produce another of these epic films. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Take care and stay safe.
Bye.